Welcome to another episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. I'm your host, Omar Cumberbatch of OmarCumberbatch.com. Appreciate you jumping in. I know that you recognize that this format is a little different from the usual way that I set up my podcast. I have no intro jingle, kind of the intro music is out, and that's just because this particular show is a special show. It's Isaac Ho's return, and we had a different way of presenting today. So one of the things that we were thinking about, because obviously my connection with it is really good and we like get so much great feedback from our shows together, was like to let's put something out there on a regular basis, just talking about different topics that come up as health coaches in the health coach space. And this particular instance was really interesting because of the attention it's getting in the media, and we'll jump into that part of it. But everybody is in the show, but everybody's really kind of talking about how they want to put things out there online, sell things to scale and such. And even myself, I got the podcast course out, and we just want to make sure we deliver so that we don't get sued. So that's one of the things that we jump in and talk about on this particular episode. That's really the topic that we're going to dive in. And again, we're going to try to do this on a regular basis to keep us abreast of like the current events that are surrounding health coaching, which is cool, especially when you're considering that if it makes news, our field is actually getting more popular. More people must be looking for health coaches, and people are working as wellness entrepreneurs on the online space. So it's really a good thing that we are getting some attention, even though maybe it's not the greatest attention that one can get. But anyway, that's what we're going to be doing. And again, as mentioned earlier, take a look at the webpage. You can see the course for building your podcast so that you can get clients and basically monetize your practices. And if you know anybody, please send them that way as well. You can definitely get a lot out of it. And I'm really excited to share some reviews shortly. Some people are actually wrapping up the courses and starting their own podcast as we speak. So that's really exciting. That's already, it has some benefits out there. So let's jump into the show. Hey, Isaac, my man, welcome back to the show.
Omar, thanks for having me, brother. Always good.
Oh, absolutely. I'm really excited about this podcast specifically. And this is something that I'm really excited also to share with the audience, that we're going to try to do this regularly and really just start updating health coaches, personal trainers, all kinds of people in the fitness world about just things that are going on that are affecting our industry. So I'm really excited to have an expert like you just participate in this. You're always in the know about all the good stuff that's going on. So I'm really excited to share this episode and the future episodes as well.
I'm super excited to be here, and we have a great relationship. But also, I think like one of the cool things is that when I get to work with people every week for my clients, they always bring me something new. Like, hey, have you heard about this? Have you heard about that? Have you heard about iridology? Have you heard that this person in this fitness industry is doing this thing? So I realized, like, from a current event standpoint, like us as fitness coaches being current, understanding what our clients are being exposed to is super, super important. So I'm excited to talk about something super current with you today.
Yeah, no, this one is a real doozy, especially for most of us who are out there trying to go online and start online courses. And we're obviously selling to the world at this point. It's not just a local kind of thing. This is a big topic. So if you're a personal trainer who's offering fitness courses online, this is some this is some big news. I'm almost borderline scary when especially someone who is of this stature is amassing this amount of following and revenue and have to go to court because they're being sued on the content that they're creating. So I want to give you an opportunity to introduce that specific case, because I think it's something that is really is going to make a lot of the health coaches and personal trainers, anyone in this space, kind of wake up to the potential of really getting involved with their courses in a different way. So I'm really excited for you to introduce that part of it as well.
I guess best as health coaches, our goal at some point is to get out of the session to session grind, right? Because being a health coach, very, very intensive. It's not like sitting at a desk and just waiting for the clock to tick. It's like every day you're interacting with someone. So a lot of us, we want to build some kind of online social presence and then start selling programs that really get us out of time fulfillment. And there's this personal trainer named Brittany Dawn Davis, and she's being sued by the state of Texas right now And her business did, just in PayPal alone, if you think about it, and her programs, they're only about $92 to $300, but she actually made $1.5 million, and she actually got sued for it. And the most incredible thing about this lawsuit is why she's getting sued. And it's the promise she made that the programs were customized, the promise she made that people would get support. And here's the fascinating thing. I don't know if you knew this, but sending an emoji is not support. And so people would say their support consisted of getting a emoji from her, and they would complain, and she filed some partial refunds, but enough people got upset about it that now she is in a lawsuit with Texas. And what potentially could come out of this is, actually, if this goes to a federal level, is that there could be big repercussions for what's allowed inside a health and fitness program that's sold online, specifically in the United States. Like that, this could be a very big case. And of course, with all lawsuits, once it's set up, all law is based off precedents, which means that all programs going forward would have to abide by a certain standard. And so it's really interesting to see what happens here, because is an emoji support? I can tell you as a health coach, it's probably not. I probably would send people more than an emoji, but what is defined as support? That's what the court will have to decide. And as a health coach, knowing the difference between, if I say it's customized, what do I actually have to do to live up to that? What is the level of customization that is required of me legally?
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting because what happened in this situation too is her claims, her claims of the support, her claims of customization. Because I guess she could have probably gotten away with just saying, here's a plan, you're off and running with it, right? I guess that's something that the court's going to have to decide. But right now, what she was borderlining is basically a scam, and that's really why the plaintiffs in this case are ticked off, and they're going after her. So that's something that we really have to be aware of. So it's going to be interesting where that case goes as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, it really speaks to marketing. Right now in the online space, everybody wants to promise something big, which there's nothing wrong with promising something big. But the flip side of that is they actually go, how do I give you something great, but charge you very little for it? And so you feel like you're getting this massive deal. And so then you use marketing to blow it up, and you feel like, oh, I'm going to get all this, and it's so high value. And if I was to hire anyone else, any other personal trainer, and they were to customize it for me and do this for me, oh my gosh, well, they'd probably charge me $1,000 a month, or $600 a month, or $500 a month, but you're going to do it for $92. And there's leveraging of technology and systems, and then there's actually just generalizing. And I think that's really important here. Is I've bought lots of programs that were just done for you, A, B, you pick. And the person would say hey, I use this with my off-season athletes, absolutely amazing program. And it was a general program, and no one you pay $100 for that, and you feel just totally fine with it because they told you what it was, and you knew this person was great. And if I went to that person and said, hey, can you write me a program? He'd have to assess me for a couple $100, then he'd have to write me a program, and then I'm probably looking at going in for $600. So if I get a fraction of what he's offering for $99, I'm not gonna cry about it. But when you say, I'm going to give you this level of customization, and I'm going to support you and do all this stuff with your nutrition, and it's really not customized, then you end up with a fraud case like this.
It's interesting because I feel like this shouldn't have been the first time we've heard of a situation like this with all these programs out there. What do you think was the thing that just propelled this one to be in a spotlight to this degree?
Honestly, I think for someone to actually get together with other people and sue you, one, there's a volume component of it, but she probably just rubbed people the wrong way too, and how she handled it. So in the news articles, it says that people complained. A lot of people complained. And the way she handled that complaint was actually, she just never responded. Never responded. Okay. And I had a client where it's came into my facility, and she had a complaint, and she felt like it wasn't addressed in the time she wanted to address. And so I just called her and just let her know, hey, I'm sorry your expectation wasn't met. I did X, I did Y. This is the bigger issue, I think. And that's what I've been trying to deal with. And she really appreciated that. And she retained us as a client. She wasn't mad. She's still training with us. The relationship is still good, but it's because there was a complaint, and it got addressed, and somebody let someone know that they cared. And in this situation, she plain up ignored people. And then they probably still saw her on Instagram, living her great life, ignoring them after they gave her money. And that's probably why this happened. And then they saw that she started, if you Google her name now, you'll see that what she's really transitioned to is these faith-based retreats. And so then it's like, hey, you're going to teach about Christianity and faith when you screwed me over. It's like, that's not right. Okay. So like now you're like kind of pouring some salt on the wound. It's like you're talking about God after you ripped me off. And so that probably triggered a lot of people. I don't know how Texas is, but probably in Texas especially. You're going to talk about a place where people carry guns, everything's big, people are extreme, and then you're doing this. Well, good luck. I think you kind of had it coming to you.
Oh man, yeah, that's not a smooth transition for somebody. I know Texas, yeah, that's what like Joel Osteen, all the big pastors are too. So it's not gonna be a pretty situation.
Hopefully Joel Osteen comes after her next. Your faith-based retreats don't match the Bible's curriculum.
Exactly. Yeah, now she's under pressure. But it's just fascinating. So what do you think as far as health coaches, the biggest lesson that we can learn from this experience? Well, I mean, not our experience, of course, but this person's experience. And because again, we're out there, majority of us are trying to get these online programs out there. We're doing great work and we have a lot of confidence in our product. What is it? A structural issue? It's just a delivery issue, and it's really fascinating because, like, again, we're all in the same boat with this.
Yeah. So, like, there's a couple, like, as a business coach that I think about. So, one is if I build a system out, there has to be some variability in the system. So, if I generate a program for someone and then modifying it, like customizing it for them, and that's usually the fastest approach. But if I'm doing that, there's no problem with that. But I have to make sure I'm actually customizing it. And I think what happened in this situation is like, I don't know how many people got together in this lawsuit to sue her, but they probably just went, hey, let me see your program. And it was identical. Okay. Right. It was identical. And there was probably nothing at all that was changed. And then so there was right away, that was a red flag. If you call it customized, but you don't actually custom, like there could be 3 things that were different and that probably would have been okay. But in this case, it sounds like nothing was different. It was the exact PDF. Everybody got the exact same thing. The second thing that I would say is really important is when you say you'll receive support, like in my legal documents, I actually specify what support you get and the hours that support is available. And so it's not like you're getting support and that's an ambiguous term. It's like you get email support between these specific hours, Pacific time. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you'll get a response by this time. And so legally, contractually, you're actually defining what that support is. It's not like, because I could say I'll support you and you could have said like, hey, on the phone, I thought you were going to drive over to the grocery store and support me in making better decisions. And so like you have to actually legally say like, what is my support? So right. It literally says like text and email support. Okay. And if the client was very needy, you may need a clause that just says, and this may just be the people you work with, where it's like you get X amount of messages a week. Okay. Mm-hmm. In terms of support. And so like that becomes important to state those things inside a program. I think the other thing that I think the biggest lesson here is understanding what you're doing for someone, the value that you're giving them by doing that, and then making sure you can actually deliver that in a very, very good way. Mm-hmm. And so like to me in my model and what I encourage clients to do if I'm looking at their programs and helping them design it as a business coach for fitness coaches and health coaches is to say, what are the most valuable things that you do? And instead of us charging less for this, let's charge more for it, but give them the support that they would need to actually execute it. Because a lot of information can be very free online. Okay. So like, let's say you're and I know there's a lot of different health coaches that listen to this, but let's say you're a naturopath, okay? And you're just charging for a consult, an assessment, and a sheet, okay? And the sheet comes with the supplements you should take, the food you should eat, etc. Now, there's no support in that program. So you say, hey, I've done a customized program for you. I would have to follow up and see how many of those people actually implement that program fully and get the results. And if I saw that I was selling, let's say, a $600 program and people were not getting the result, then I would want to sell more support so they could be successful. And then I would want to refine my biggest support pieces to make sure that those are scaled and leveraged as best as possible. And then I would clearly define those in the program and in the contract that I give a person. You see the difference? So instead of saying, let me give you as much value for $92 or $300, it's like, let me give you the things that are going to make you successful and then actually charge you for those things. So I'm well compensated for them, but you're actually going to get the result. And that would be far more valuable than just a sheet that says do all these things, which is what she did.
Let me ask you a question. In your opinion, obviously we don't know this, lady, from anybody. How much of it is accidental, ignorance of scale? I mean, look at these numbers. You said from $92 to $300, and she made 1.5 million. I'm not a mathematician, but those are a hell of a lot of programs to sell.
Let's just do the math. So if your average, your average is 125. Someone buys halfway, so maybe 130. Okay, so if I take 1.5 million, Omar, and we divide that by $125, she would have sold 12,000 programs. And so 12,000 programs, yeah, you're probably going to get people that are unhappy if it's not a good program when you sell 12,000.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, like selling 12,000 programs is like the definition of scaling, and she didn't have any mechanism to scale, right? I mean, especially for what she promised. So she couldn't have done 12,000 people and actually truly quote unquote support them in any shape or fashion, like it's very unrealistic.
Right. Well, yeah, because it's like, okay, let's just be realistic here. So like my company made about 750K last year. Okay. So like half of what she made maybe in a year. That's 1.5 for the entire length of the lawsuit. So she maybe made less than I did if you really split it up. Because I think this lawsuit started, she's going to court for it now, but let me just look at the news article. I think it says she actually started this program in 2014. Okay, so it's like from 2014 to the effective date of the lawsuit, she's made 1.5 million. Okay, so that's what, we're 2023. That's maybe 9 years, 8 years. So it's actually, if you split it up, like making 1.5 million over 8 years is actually only like less than 6 figures. Okay, right. So let's just redo like 8 years over 12,000 and see how many of that is a year, assuming it's linear, which most growth is not. 12,000 divided by 8. So about 1,500 a year. Okay, and that's still a lot of clients to service. So 1,500 a year. So if you're going to grow this correctly, like she probably did what most people did, which is like, hey, I got some copy paste PDF from some coach, or I just put my own thing that's been working for me. And then I just make it into some kind of app or some kind of PDF. And then I just send that like, oh, are you an A client, a B client, or a C client? And then you just give that to people, right? And so like, there's nothing inherently wrong with that as long as you're actually assessing that people are in that right box. And then you would need to invest some of that 100,000 into actually getting people to run the program for you. So if she had done something like some group support calls that were live, nobody would have complained, likely. Assuming that she had an actual health coach, on that call, not someone or someone trained in her system, right? Not just someone from the Philippines who like didn't speak English, or was like, yeah, I just am looking at this sheet of reference points and trying to figure out what to tell you based off the problem you're having. So I think that's why a lot of us are annoyed at tech companies when we call in and we don't get a real person, but we're having a problem. We start to get angry, right? It's like, hey, I'm trusting you that your product works. Now your product doesn't work. And my first experience of trying to get support from you is you actually don't care about supporting me. And see, that's a huge problem. And that's why, kind of the whole, like, you'll see it advertised like, this is a real American product. And when you call, you get a real American person. It's like, what they're basically saying is, hey, if you do have a problem with their product, we'll actually help you with it. And like, we care enough to invest into that. So she didn't care enough to invest into that. And so what she probably did was hire someone like from like a virtual assistant and just said, hey, just send people these emojis when they message you. And so she didn't invest back into it. And then as she sold more and more, the number of people that were unhappy got larger and larger. And think about Instagram, it's not a hidden platform. So like you can go on to people's comments and see people commenting like, hey, you never followed up with me. Hey, I bought your program and it sucked. And so people would just go through and see that. And then they would message the other person and be like, dude, did you buy a program from her too? Hey, send me the program. Let's take a look. And so it's the internet. So of course people got together. Her page was public. people started having this conversation to a point where she actually created a live video apologizing for it. And of course, she took it down because she's so confident in herself. And she's actually, she's actually protesting the lawsuit after having apologized first for having made mistakes, not living up to her promises, and scamming people. And so, like, I think that takes us into our next point, which is, okay, depending on where you're at as a health coach, I just basically told you how you would scale, right? I told you how you would scale. You make the sales, then you would hire people, you would outsource it, and then you would scale. So now the next thing that we're going to think about is very simply, it's like, okay, now that I know how to scale, like what actually makes somebody great at selling these? So someone listening to this, they may not be at a point where they've made 6 figures in their health coaching business a year. They may not be making, $9,000 a month. They may not have an online media presence like this lady did. But the thing that made her really successful, let's say on the sales side, is she was super, super confident. And if you ever want to make 6 figures in business, at some point you have to believe and trust in yourself that you do something that is of value, that you can help a person. And this is an example of someone who obviously had a lot of that belief, but didn't actually back it up. So, and I know you have a background in health coaching. You've worked with clients. So like for you, when you think about your belief, like what was that like for you to develop the belief that you could really help somebody and actually be able to be in a conversation with someone and have them and transfer that belief where they're like, yes.
Yeah, I think it was very easy for me to, at least I should quote unquote, sell what I'm capable of doing as a health coach to them. I think I've always run into the problem, like we've always spoke of, is just kind of like closing the deal. That was kind of my hiccup when it was coming to that. Like I had the utmost confidence that I could help anybody out there when it comes to the health coaching, and getting them results. I think that was my hiccup personally. Just, that was that thing. And obviously this woman was good at both.
at both closing the deal. Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of allure. Like when you see someone on media, it's like you have to remember the way the brain's evolved. It's like back then, only celebrities were on TV. Before TV, we had radios. And so like popularity in social circles, if you go before media like that, was like you sit around a fire and the person who tells the best story that everyone looks at, they are now the king of the social tribe. And if that king asked you to do something, it was like, oh my gosh, the head of this pyramid has asked me to come from the bottom and work with them. And so Instagram is very much the same way. It's like this live TV presence where this person that you've been watching, that you feel like but has never known you, is now offering you a way to work with you for like $90.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And so there's this platform difference in terms of how people perceive that. And so maybe she wasn't even good at sales. Maybe she had some confidence, but it's her platform and her marketing that really, it actually works with the way that the human mind looks at survival in social circles. So it's like I could give a very little and be connected to someone of very high status. Does that make sense?
That does.
Okay.
That does.
So like, and the human mind is really smart too. So like it has survival mechanisms. So part of the psychology is also understanding that it's really wired to avoid scamming. And so scamming is very unsafe for it. So if you have a limited amount of resources and you have to use those resources as best as possible, then when you go to talk to someone about spending your resource, you have to really ask yourself, is this going to help me survive? That's actually what's happening in the background. Is this going to help me survive based off all the pieces of data that I have? And the pieces, like the bullet points of what the program's about, like let's say binge eating or sugar indulgence, eat less sugar, lose more weight, that is actually a small part of what makes somebody buy. And so price objection, like sealing the deal, a lot of it comes from the energy of the person, because if there's any little bit of energy that says, I don't believe what I have is valuable, and I don't 100% believe that I'm the best at helping you solve this problem, and this is really going to solve your problem, then what happens is the person who is on the other end of that, their brain is flashing a warning sign, warning sign, warning sign. When that happens, they go, I got to go think about it.
Yeah.
Or they say, I got to go talk to my spouse because it's a lot of money. And so they'll give you anything that's pre-recorded as an objection because they actually don't feel it's safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, this evolution of the brain is very fascinating for me. I love that, and all kinds of topics, including, like we talk about it in diet and exercise and all these kinds of things. It is a reality that we have to come to terms with. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like and as a health coach, we're really selling a comfort zone.
Hmm.
Like that's really important to understand. So like the decisions they want to make to get healthier, um, like those are available for them, but they're outside of their comfort zone. So if you're not actually trained to get someone out of their comfort zone, they are not going to make the uncomfortable changes to actually get the health changes they want. And that really starts first in them even saying yes to hiring you to get them out of their comfort zone. You see how that works? And so the
Hmm.
first uncomfortable thing they have to do is say, yes, I'm going to be uncomfortable enough to hire you, Omar, to help me with my sugar problem. And then they're going to have to continue to be uncomfortable in order to get the result. And that's what a lot of the coaching process is. But where a lot of coaches and whether you're a personal trainer, you're a relationship coach, whatever you're working on in terms of helping someone get healthy, if you can't get them through the first discomfort, then they never start the process of actually getting healthy.
Hmm. No, that's a great point. Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so listen, this was awesome. I'm really excited to share this with the audience because this is very relevant to our, what's going on in our world, and it's something that we have to keep in mind. And of course, as always, you always drop in the knowledge tips about the sales, which we appreciate as well.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely the thing. And I know like confidence, confidence is such an intangible thing. Like in a lot of training, they call that the frame, right? And the frame is the mental construct of how you operate in your life. So for example, the guy that gets up every morning and goes to exercise, first thing he does is he goes on a run. He actually has this whole mental construct of he's a guy that goes on runs. That makes sense. Someone who's like, hey, I wear really nice, high quality things. They have a whole mental construct about who they are. Now,
Mhm.
at any time, you can change that, but it requires you to actually lean into it. And so, if we're talking to somebody, like you're saying about, hey, I have this great program, you have to make sure you do a frame check. Because if you're in the wrong frame, then they won't know what it is. And it's nothing you said, but it's just off. And then they don't buy. Now, I know like one of the things that I always help coaches with is like, okay, like in terms of your belief of what you can help people with and what you've achieved, like you specifically, Omar, like with podcasting, it's like I know you run a very effective business with podcasting. So what are you doing right now in terms of like what's next for you besides the podcast?
Oh yeah, so my course is out. It's great. Is doing really well. And I guess to your point, I mean that was one of the things that I wanted to really share with the world because I knew I could help people grow their audience from nothing to, have over 250,000 downloads at this point. I'm doing it in a way where I'm only using up a couple hours of a week to really put it all together and get it out to the world. And it's really just, my course was based on that idea, growing your audience, really getting into a point where you can identify who you serve and ultimately monetize the podcast. And that's just something that I always knew that I would be able to help people do. And that's where I'm working on right now, really helping other people getting additional support. So it's an evergreen course that's on Teachable right now that is available there. But I also work with people as they finish and wrap up the course that they want additional help. And I don't just send emojis. I actually get on the phone call and we get busy, So it's really gratifying because I do believe that the message that health coaches put out there is even more powerful, not only just working with clients, but just going out there and actually getting the word to the masses. And that's really what, that really excites me about all the stuff that I do. And just sharing information, what I can provide or other health coaches provide and people like yourself. It's just a great medium to get all this information out there. So I've always been super confident about that and what my ability is to deliver on that. So maybe that's why I'm doing okay with this now.
That's great, man. So what do they get with the course? I know you said it's a teachable course, but like in terms of support, like A to Z, how does the course work?
Yeah, so each module is a multi-module course that I have videos, obviously some transcripts and stuff to walk through the process, a lot of step-by-step walkthrough stuff. But after the course is over, if they need additional support, we set up jump on my calendar and we get really identify some of the things that people get stuck with. So that's really, believe it or not, I wanted to do it evergreen, and I just never noticed how much coaching is involved in these courses as well, and the opportunity to coach. So it's really exciting to actually get into people's thought process of why they're doing it. How do they pick a name? How do they get in front of their ideal target audience? So there's a lot of support behind that as well, and that's what we really just get like I said, get on a call, and that it actually turns into a coaching program after the fact, which is really cool because I get to meet all the people who've actually purchase the course and really get to know them a little better as well. So yeah, it's been just a great experience. Yeah, I it's my first course, and I'm really looking forward to expanding in other courses as well.
That's cool, man. So is it, do they get coaching with the course, or is that a separate program afterwards?
It's a separate program afterwards, just depending on the needs of the person. A lot of people really just have it's offered like a one-time call to kind of hash out, and if they want to go any further, then we discuss those options after the fact. Yeah, so it could build on to a little bit more, but most of the time it's just a lot of people just iron out some specifics regarding questions that they may have immediately once the course is complete.
Cool. Okay, cool. So that answers my question. So you get you have the whole course, and then you go through it, and then whatever sticking point you have, you get a private coaching call with you. And then if you decide that you want more support, that's available.
That's it. Yep. Right on.
Okay.
Of course,
Well, that makes sense.
you always say it better than I do. So
I haven't looked at the page for the course, so I have to ask, just because we're talking about specifics. I always think about it like from a contract law standpoint. So it's like, okay, how does this work? Awesome, man. And you're gonna have the link for that maybe in the show notes.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. But yeah, anybody, I promote it all the time on the podcast as well. But yeah, absolutely. In the show notes, you'll be able to link up and check out the sales page and see if it's something that you were interested in taking up. Because we need more podcasters out there. It's a booming business, and it's a space for everybody. So really excited for people to jump on the train.
Yeah, that's cool. I got one last question for you, Omar.
Yeah.
Here it is. Since we're on the topic of confidence. Right. And you have built an audience, you said of 250,000 people that have listened to your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So like what in your confidence has allowed you to do that?
To get started, or just to
A to Z? Is it maybe just getting started? Is it confident that you could get started, and if you worked, it would be there?
Yeah, I think even just like anything, it's just starting, right? Like getting the courage up to just say, listen, I'm gonna put it out there. I'm just gonna be out there. I'm gonna be vulnerable of what's going on. And I think it, depending on, especially with the podcast, I always knew I could do it. I was always somebody who I felt was inquisitive. I could carry a conversation. So I thought that was really the genesis of it. So I think I was always confident if I can get it out there, I could do it. Did I have hiccups as far as actually presenting it out there and getting like the doubts? Absolutely. But I think once I just started going, it was like, oh, this isn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. And yeah, and now I'm very confident in speaking to basically anybody. It's just second nature, and I guess that built over time. But I felt right now, I definitely think that I have the confidence to have a podcast for forever at this point. I think I will always have a podcast no matter what. I think it's the greatest medium to just meet good people, share ideas. Yeah, I love it. I really do. I'm a social person too. It helps.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So what I'm hearing is the confidence that you had in yourself, that you could show up and have a conversation with someone and ask questions and just be curious and be a good listener.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm a lifetime learner, and that's what I like to do. I feel like I get such a benefit out of that just by having guests and conversations. I'm learning, being exposed to new things, and I think that's what I would do in my spare time, no matter what.
Yeah, well, that's cool, man. Because it's, what I'm hearing from this is if you're someone who's confident that you can be interested, that you like to learn, then podcasting could be a very good medium for you. And all the heavy lifting of how you actually build one, how you record one, how you edit one, how you find a target market, how you get it out there. Like you've done all that heavy lifting. So the only question you have to ask yourself, if this is a good fit and you want to build an audience and you want to have people come to you, is, do I believe that I could be interested in someone and interested in learning to be able to ask questions?
Yeah, well put.
That's cool, man. I love it. Thanks for having me on, Omar.
Anytime. Looking forward to the next one.
Yes.